The anatomy and physiology of the lung. The lungs are the primary organs of the respiratory system in humans and most animals. The lungs are divided into sections. Their function in the respiratory system is to extract oxygen from the air and transfer it into the bloodstream, and to release carbon dioxide from the bloodstream into the atmosphere. The lungs also provide airflow that makes vocal sounds, including human speech, possible. There are two lungs in the human body. The right lung is bigger and is divided into three lobes, while the left lobe is smaller as it needs to make room for the heart. Inside the lungs themselves are bronchi, which is a tube that runs from the trachea into the lung. The bronchi separates into smaller tubes called bronchioles, which helps air reach the alveoli and into the bloodstream. The red blood cells pick up the oxygen and carry it to the body's organs and tissues. As the blood cells release the oxygen, they pick up carbon dioxide, a waste product of metabolism. The carbon dioxide is then carried back to the lungs and released into the alveoli. With each exhalation, carbon dioxide is expelled from the bronchi out through the trachea. Lung transplantation is a surgical procedure in which one or both lungs are replaced by lungs from a donor. Donor lungs can be retrieved from a living or deceased donor. A living donor can only donate one lung lobe, but with some lung diseases, a recipient may only need to receive a single lung. With other lung diseases like cystic fibrosis, the recipient must receive two lungs. While lung transplants can carry associated risks, they also extend life expectancy and enhance the quality of life for those with end-stage pulmonary disease. The lung transplant process guide as follows: the lung transplant referral, consultation and evaluation, the lung transplant waiting list, the lung transplant surgery itself, and the recovery after the transplant. During a lung transplant, surgeons remove your diseased lung and then attach a donor lung to your airway and to the blood vessels that lead to and from your heart. A lung transplant operation can take from 4 up to 8 hours. This depends on your medical condition, any previous heart or lung surgery, and the condition of the donor organs. Blood type and other biological factors such as location and body size are important when considering lung allocation, since lung donation is only viable 4 to 6 hours after the donor's death. Waiting periods for a lung transplant in Australia can be up to 2 years, depending on the blood and tissue types of the recipients and donors. The waiting times are different in each state, depending on the population of the state and the number of people that are on the waiting list. While on the waiting list, you must have monthly blood samples sent out to the Australian Red Cross Transplantation Services for antibody tissue tests to be carried out. The lung transplant inclusion criteria may be one of the following: respiratory failure, despite optimal medical therapy, intervention and surgical treatment, or poor quality of life, potential with intractable symptoms, and repeat hospital admissions. But the exclusion criteria for the recipient may be as follows: active malignancy, irreversible dysfunction of organs or other body systems, or substance addiction that is either active or within the last 6 months. For example, cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs. Around the world, only about 10 to 20% of lungs from multi-organ donors are used for transplantation, but in Australia this figure is 40% and continuing to rise. It is not stated anywhere of what the actual cost of a lung transplant in Australia is, probably considering we have Medicare and different sorts of private healthcare. Although this can't be compared to Australia's cost of a lung transplant, the average cost of a lung transplant in America can cost you from around $500,000 to $700,000, depending on whether the procedure will involve 1 or 2 lungs. It is estimated that 9 out of 10 people survive a lung transplant. People can live for 5, 10, or even 20 years after having one. Thank you.